다 당당한데 우리가 더 이기는가
지켜지가.
지는 다이딩을 더 벌어요네요.
So, if there are any questions from the discussion in the last session,
I forget.
I keep wondering if there's a way to think of these as the karmic, as a karmic process of receiving attack or belittling, and if there's a way to think of it as an opportunity to purify past karma.
이 소소라 미기다 시구르치에로 단데 용교라 시구르 시구르라 소레디 미기데 치용데 잠바 디 소소기 레로지랑은 진치에요레스 니마기 레님바지다 단다 디부미용아도 용진치에요레스 진정은 진치에요나 니 레님바디 니마사위 디부미바를 때네 레 다도에기지 삼로도지 코르유라 덴데 삼로당나 디게스
데데데데데데 먼저 배셔는 요라 생이 배셔는 다가 집 기마치신 되게 문도데 간다 미카시 이제 직게 가도 있는 누구냐인데 그러지도 지치는 가서 가두산나 걸로 누구 쉬워지냐고도 생겼는데 지치는 야버다 경험하고 수 디바사셔지 근데 미일로 되는 마다로라 됐사는 지다야래 다가서 지도 든들어서 그 저기 등에 나대는데 요라 그래서 막 지난 경험하고 그런 게 사비 아니다 레게 데부디마 메고라 네 아니 그런 게 단단하서 미기 되는 강이 가르치 용바이나 미기 되는 수도 탐람 터시세 로바세 가리니야 세라 단단 오늘 야실다 지나이나 봐 타이미 같이 상고로 가 미 얘기 밀어 놓지에 마뉴 가가라 미스페키 야보치는 친 단동 알아 강이 오고도 쌈 같이 에는 상고 티 삼에 말 지나 치리 가르라나 캐나라 단다 강이 튀어디 캐나기 깨왕함에기 레두저 사샤지디기 단단 데부 단단 미기 되는 메셔 티 앞으로 계시 냐라도다 지켜 심하면서 될 강이 쳐라 단단 메는 가서 직 강이 되어 있는 수들 로봇에서 수수 삼다 답시다 제 지라이나 가도 라와는 아주 근데 가와가 투에 말때 지키네 가와가 거에도 샤워다 산노 야보 땅이나 봐 닝 레네 왜 바랑 아주 레두자 야고 참여 레두기 데부 단단 메셔나 야시로 미기 되는 라 슈마냐고 말 뜻다.
So yes, this is one way of looking at it, and it is kind of explained in this manner too in the text, in the scriptures. Now I do not remember the exact verse, but it explains karmic processes and karmic consequence or karma in this manner. Now, in this lifetime, you have taken birth in the human vessel, which affords you with like very unique opportunities and abilities that are not afforded to any other vessel, such as the birth that you could take as an animal. And now, if you go through suffering in this lifetime, in this human vessel, then you really do have the means to kind of work towards alleviating your own suffering. With this kind of ability is not afforded to any other forms of life, such as animals. And then when we talk about the other realms, then we talk about also the hell realms and so on and so forth. In these realms, you are not afforded the opportunity, or you do not have the means to kind of work towards alleviating your own suffering. So herein the text kind of also the scriptures also like advises the practitioner to think about the human life in this manner, that whatever suffering that we go through in this life is actually a joyous thing to behold, because we actually have the means and the intelligence to kind of look at it from a different perspective, or try to alleviate the suffering ourselves. This is not afforded to any other realms of life or realms of being. And now, like immediately when we say that, then it is kind of tough for us to accept this. And tough to accept it. And the text further goes on to kind of advise the genuine practitioners to like take great joy in the fact that the karmic consequence is being ripened in this particular life, as in the human vessel. Because if the kind of karmic consequence ripens in the hell realm or the animal realm, then it's kind of tough to kind of think of ways to alleviate the suffering for ourselves. Yes.
Tanda chi kharne lang yama ngado chinji de gombala de de gala ta jiken khala inare ta ngado phun sile je sacha mando na pem mo ra tidi gen de sungu de chiran zan nagi du ane nga chik de ne semba chogo ma resra tanda ngado luten dil na wa de khan kyo ngama le du ja sa sha ji ma ta du resra tende sungu du anchi ne ngado na de gan chin na wa ina ka nge khar na tipu ma da ya ka nge khar thwe de pesha wa ina kyo ngama ngara gi de le sa bi de ku ma ka du ja de ma le nyem ba de ma ta do ya chik ta chia sho chik na sana ta ya ta de nga na wa ina ngala ka nge khar thwe ina nga do ka nge nyo de chen ba je ro tenzu tsama ki kochiyo wa sho, tenzu tsama ma na wa sho, tiki tsabdi nga na ya di kochiyo wa sho sana, tando pendo che susu gyawa sa, nabi dungi ki dipa tawa tang, ani kalo susu ki sunum sa ninja legda, o dinde sam tang, o dinde sungudu.
So then when we first came from Tibet and arrived in India, in the nunnery, and then of course we go through a lot of suffering. By the change of place, climate, and then we fall ill and we become sick very often due to various reasons. And then in such instances, then the teachers that we had used to advise us in this manner that do not be so disheartened that you are suffering and you are falling ill right now, because look at it in this way, that the kind of karma that you have, bad karma that you have accumulated in previous lives, are being now purified because of this suffering, and you should not feel disheartened. And then another way that is encouraged, which is like an aspirational practice, is in this manner, that do not only think about your own suffering. Now the fact that you are suffering, you cannot do anything about it, you are suffering. And now as you suffer, do not think only about yourselves. Try to think about it in this manner. Aspire to a motivation such that by this suffering that I'm experiencing right now, may I be able to take upon the consequence of all the demerits that all other sentient beings have committed. And if you are able to do that, then like your own kind of pronounced feeling of suffering lessens, and then you also as a natural consequence, gain like more merit or accumulate more good karma. Yes. Any other questions?
Okay.
So it might be a stupid question, but I wrote about that. Who is Shanti Deva and Shani Deva? So Shanti Deva and Buddha is same person.
Shanti Deva and?
Here, as Shanti Deva says, engaging in Buddhist Sutra behavior. So Shanti Deva and Buddha is same person.
This Chabjungro Yesigiresra Shanti Deva Shivala Lana Suras and Shivala the Sanji Jumden and Chibarves.
Rangazo and the Chibamara, Tupadina, Chibachitangi Maribet to Zukoran Chundan Kara, Shanti Devil and Takai Chabasra, in a transition the cartoon, the number 2 Lavoria, Jai Medici, and Chitanka Kagari to the Zukoran Chundani Kara. Then the Chiakashi to better Sanji Chirela, you know, home.
So no, Shantideva and Buddha are not the same person. When we look at the chronological history, Buddha was born in 500 BC. Shantideva was a 7th century figure, and he was a master of the Nalanda Institute in India. And so yeah, they are two different persons. And Shantideva was a master from the Nalanda College in India, and Buddha was born in another century, like before. And so yeah, they are two different persons, but I don't know if some people kind of interpret it in this manner, that Shantideva was a reincarnation or a manifestation of the Buddha himself. So I don't know if some people kind of look at it that way, but objectively they are two different people in different times of history.
Okay. Tata nang di world do ra, tata nang siji kashi cha do ra. Di zaman tong do tu chu. Ani tata dila do shiloga tuba dila ba. Kadin sanshi mi bi is min nam ra. Xinyan tang ba nang xin ta go ba tem ba. 다 수수기 가데 상실라디 수수기 파지 지요 다 미들 로바 치나 갈치나 벤조테나레 지게 카달랍제 치나레 간다 미들 파 펜타디 레가치 치유바 딜라 가시기 펜레펜데 만지 치네 단도스를 두제로 다니들이요 삼타마신이라 근데 이 아니 미들 수수 계획 힘이 나시다고 수수 럽제 침부치테라 라 힘이 당바나신 따고바 템바레라 고제디디체
So then moving on with the text, the sixth verse, when we look at it, then the kind of, it talks about the practice of viewing ungrateful persons as teachers or supreme teachers. So herein, when we say that we need to view these ungrateful persons as supreme teachers, then in our life, then we experience many people to whom, like, upon whom, with whom, like, we have tried, or we have tried to, like, do something for them, and even though we have done something of benefit to them, then their response is kind of totally the opposite. That they do not show a sense of gratitude, or they do not even acknowledge the fact that we have done something beneficial to them. So in such instances, we are taught not to feel discouraged, but to look at these people as our supreme teachers.
Teacher, hadi kandes tagolana nela ngala dagi penta be sera ta chidangi danda di chiji koran te chiji ma de da chiri ine khande lagola na ta kanda chirangi mijila ba penta ro pa ro chi na ro penta be ani danju zangzang zu mil ro pa chi di le rewa la ta ji ra phagi le rewa la ma ta chirangi phen phare mi de la kangi ji la ro pa che wa na khu kangi de le se chi de ro pa che ne pe ya punu chama ta ra kangi de le ke se chi de nge ro pa chi sa ro pa che wa na di ya bro tangi kana midil kangi chi de nge ro pa che wa na 디 주마 ngala phen thu ayon sa rewa jo chewai na di tapa dewo na di dili chi jo resra ta kesi chida ngazu gi mi yarawi na mi jila kangi ti ti paro ba chewai na juma so la sa kangi ti doro ba chi ta jideng chi ni ro ra chidangi na tinde chi ro ya kashi sama ta ma hi ne ta mi chi gi pe mi chi khanja kholo ro ba che ya bo che dandu samshi ma jin chu du je chi ni ra ra 근데 같이 쏘 쉬어야 되는 게 같은 도 미 같이 괜찮아야 되는 도 라, 미스 간자 미들 야부지 단도 타마들 소소라기 소초에 인가 미두자는 요시로라 다 근데 가라 소마지나 가다 소소를 두제 친이들 아니 캐나가 알랍제 침부치 테송선베 게베히니 긴듯이 샤오레라 라 이네 나도 로바치디 밀 로바치디 레월라 따지요 마리 파기들 페마 벨라 조디 섬디간 타오레스 라
So then how do we adopt such a view wherein we view these ungrateful people as our supreme teachers? And herein, first we need to address this, that whenever we try to help someone, or whenever we're trying to benefit someone else, then we need to have a pure intention, a good intention first. It should not be done with a sense of expectation that if I do this to him, if I help him or her, then he would in future kind of do the same for me. You should not do it with this kind of expectations. A genuine practitioner should have pure intention, not having an expectation from the one that you are trying to help. The kind of pure intention should be directed towards helping, towards alleviating the particular suffering that person is going through. So dedicate all your time and effort towards alleviating that suffering that the person is going through, and do not have any expectations from that person. This attitude first we need to generate in ourselves, and we need to adopt this attitude. But as we do this, then there are instances wherein we spend all our lives trying to help someone, and then that particular person sometimes do not have a sense of gratitude at all, and that it comes to a point wherein they pose a danger to your own life. Such incidents happen in our life. So herein, when such incidents arise, then we are advised to look at these people as our supreme teachers.
다 뺀로지 샤와나 그냥 미질에다 이게라고 기겐로지나라 부글럽도 하고 차야지 그냥 가르 시바이는 얘다 챈다 깔레 간데 저거 빼가나 쉬고 있는 대응 가나 쉬고 다처럼 깔레 쇼저라 아무고 겨고지 마시가 다 깔레제 로마보 깔레제 안 코켜바차 호차 단도 양기 슈마 켜바차나 기게라 차도 제로 되지 빼내래 근데 예바이나 다 디디시랑이 아 단도 zuba고서 이샤라 지진의 코 게르드 나래 켜바차데 빼아버려서 직제 거마 주라 아니 아다 딘디디야 소소 미스나데 딘디지에 중시 바지레도 아서네 소소 상로치 코에나 콜레디 발로라인도 링마라 안데 잠니가는 딘디디 유그라 산노타 단담데 엔데도 사메라 데데페레 다 페츠노 데데테나시 캬나 슈소나라 로파 카르체와이네 지미지라 파치 카르체와이네 쓰라 야레 말로 단도 두자로 체와이네 데데로 산노타나 아니 강에 gemda 단도 디 도쇼 산노타나 예코라게 마 빼아버지 당알라 엔데 두제 치기둘라 디 산노 야제 야제 코디나 단도 치랑 강에 마도 라 미디 치랑 두부타위 강에 치 디가 산노 코니 닝게마 콜레 빼아버지 데데 알라 두자 레글레 야제 야제 디가 산노 코디나 क्या सिंबल है कहीं रा पर दुनिया की मंबोज सुनना सुजुलु बोला है कहीं तो आप हम खासी तो आप पुगुल पे या बच्चे अरे या बच्चे पुगु फामा यूरो में तक कौन सी सोते हैं खाकर रा तांगे तेरे ये वाई ना फामा तो सेंपाउरा चिंजी कदिने ये पुगु तो लता तो चेरा चिकी तंबो सोड्यू गलन ने लो चिंगी गल कले शुरा तने या लैपटॉप तांग तने या कॉलेज तने को मिसन दोनम जो तांदो को पुगु चेदिया तांदो फामा दिके रोपची दो 다 파마 경고 차베 라마도 좀 야메타나 파마 생각 하러 이 코로나 맞아 코로나 이쁘게 내가 랭에 로고 체도 봐. 딱 파마 디치부 텐데는 팽다. 다 걔만 되는 무슨 코로나 르 당신아. 그래서 말이야 강이 되는 지금 말라. 빼뺀 내다. 네다 디페도 두긴 하면서 수도 나야 수도 그래서 가가로. 저도 야리스도 파마를 하시려 저거 말아.
So then let's try to explore this with an example. And let's say that you or I taught someone like a particular lesson, like a particular subject. And then I try to teach it with the best of intentions and to the best of my abilities by citing, by exploring the meaning of the text and then trying to give you examples. And then as the student takes this teaching and then he like goes his own way, and then this student becomes a great intellectual in his own right, and then he starts to belittle you. The student starts to belittle you, and then tries to compete with you. Then how do we practice? Herein, this could happen in real life. And herein, if we were from the start teaching the student with a pure intention, without expectation, then we are able to kind of accept that this is a fact of life, that this could happen, that people could act in this manner. Then you do not have the same kind of reaction. And then if you are able to do that, then you can still think about it in this manner that, oh, he has become a great intellectual in his own right, and that now my teachings have served his purpose, that he is able to become a great intellectual in his own right. So by kind of adopting this kind of attitude, then we also see that this person in that instance could teach us a great lesson about ourselves too. So this is the manner in which we kind of view others as supreme teachers who behave in this manner. And another example I want to talk about is the relationship between a parent and a child. And now I'm not sure how applicable and relatable this would be to a Western society. But herein, when we talk about the relation between a parent and a child, then the parent, if the parent from the birth of the child looks after the child, nurtures the child, and then like kind of also supports the child until he becomes an adult, he or she becomes an adult, and dedicating a lot of time, effort, and energy. And then even when that child becomes child becomes an adult, as he gives birth, he or she gives birth to their own children, then even the parents help in this instance too. So the parent in this instance is doing all this out of a pure intention, with love and compassion to his or her children, And then if the child does not like look after the parent in old age, then this could be a source of great distress and disappointment for the parent. And now, if the parent adopts a pure intention from the start without expecting anything in return, then in his old age, even if the children do not look after and do not kind of reciprocate the same care and concern, then the parent would be kind of able to accept this as a fact of life, that this could happen to me, and then look towards their children as a teacher that teaches them a lesson. So this is the manner in which we need to kind of adopt these practices in our life.
Tijeta na azu phama da gi gede peshare tati chance suto na lo londo bi chi lega leni roba inare chi phatuna na ro tane kangi chu roba chere anzenda chi ba inare ani chi za sa para inare ra chi chi roba che mo jo ra tinde gala susung ngela pa ya ko che che di jila tse ya le ma lo tando tsere chi duje ro chi du na kirangi ji ma chi ko chen so ta na tam di go ra ni ma chona ande na di gala nge de chi yu she ma ta korana za chen so ro tang chu tando ko ro jo ro gi mi chi kwa duje ran chi de na 다 딜랑아도 마가 제시요 뭐라 그러고라 삼다다지레 민조 땅투 카버로 근데 제사 디나로 준주고 단다 자와지다 디페 뻬마시베기 간서 저보금다라 펜도다로 남도 미츠나로라 삼다다 디 나라이나라 디치디페 팽기도라 아니 공사초이나 디양스 수고도 시당하라서 나 나차 두자실레바이나레 지키소르 강이 칸데지테나 디 삼다나 뻬마시 펜도 첨부다 제제 첨부 쇼와라이 카르스문들라나 데르도 kete chus yunani tela mega chi yusra kete chus menani tela mega chi pens la jwa ra tigi kasi gansu gi chi ke nedan de la chya yuna kran ke maga wa chi goye yo marasra kran de la kange da wada chi pe chogoye ke mar karsan chya yuna che choras kesi de la chya thuya chi men kange de la jwa chin tang thu mendu na ta kran de be di kange de la san tang ande de chi goye maras chine pendo ke marasra tela ani kyangi magawa chiye tela phendo khare di majene ashira majene phendo chere so bola ra tigala sana ma tan na nikale chere ti chi de pemmasi be khoya re chran zo lo len sim tu na sim di zema tu na di sana tan na shi zo khawa ta na chran le phendo ra min dam da thu du ye phendo yore ne dan kangi da na cha da tani kangi ti de phendo yore so khawa phe ta na ta ye ra
So then as we talked about these two different situations as examples, then we can apply it to all our experience in our life, be it with experiences and relations in our life, be it with colleagues, then be it with your friends, be it with your near and close ones, or anyone, any relation. So as you kind of, in these relations, if you are able to help them, then not to do it with a sense of expectation. And even if you, and as you do that, if the person kind of is not reciprocating in the same manner, or worse, they do something that hurts you, then in that instance, adopt this view that these are my supreme teachers, that they are teaching me a very important lesson. And then in that instance, you can of course remind them once. But when you remind them, do not do it with a sense of entitlement that, oh, since I did this to you, you have to do this to me. Because we need to approach any type of practice wherein we are trying to help others or trying to be of benefit to others. We need to do it with a good intention without expecting anything in return. So if we are able to do that, then we do not have a great sense of disappointment later on. And then a beautiful and profound verse from Shantideva's Bodhisattva Acharya Avatara, or the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, is particularly important here, and it is kind of mentioned in the commentary too. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama also cites this particular verse very often, because it is profound and very practical attitude to adopt. So the verse, it kind of reads, if it can be remedied, why get into a foul mood over something? And if it can't be remedied, what help is it to get into a foul mood over it? So if there is a solution to it, then why do you need to worry about it? Work towards that solution. then if there is no solution towards it, then what is the point of worrying about it? There is no solution now. You have to accept that there is no solution. So with this kind of attitude and practical attitude that we adopt, then we we do not become so disappointed when such incidents or situations presents themselves to us. Less.
Tadele peji shagashindare pege gana kodoji tigda peranzo tashido nala chinya rashigi mtabare suzuki pamando chogajemero chikton andisiru zai de chitrondo na taku sendu be kashi nyomboro chaini de yorra dine idi gala dadi tacho sende kazumo kazi shine koya lan ya leyo mara ba tindeji nega le chang sende ji ni sende ji sende ji ngo mila she damar chewa pendo ke mara dadi leyo re jo tang ta tu yo mara anza tang mutu e idi gala tindeji la nganzu sende shine pendo ke tanda dile do te san shamba chtan ra dadi le tanda nganzu nabaro ni chero chera ani koran chikin koran di penjono karayo ina dingana chi chero che tene koran ya sunam sa ya da koran chewa ya pole tendela pendo ra ta kesi kina da nabaro de ke kuchi me chewa hashi kemale na ani dindegi michi ani thondo da ni chungwa inda chorani paro po yo na chi getu do ta khare na ching dewa joro ti paru da mi thondo ji di mi khare na ra koran la mis la mi joro ti gi na shin ji chene ta pene chorani chonga do je me do chi thondo na ta khuni la pu do yo ra tati choy ne pugun digi kasam cheme ne digi debajar ta pugud la maung balla junche wachi che wala khora mi jura khona ge khu ge chhe legat ba takpa chendra tandu di zo ina ani thoni de ta ya le yo mar ni dil sen de ne chuphe do yo mare tandu chona ge khu ge kaden ro ji khona ge sambe mi di ban du chuna ra tandu di ya ge da ani khona ge sem bala di sen de ge ga ngi di nyung do ra tele ke si ani choy mi ba ina phendo choy mar ta ne tu shenba jing a zo ge chi jo tang thue ge de ka ngi juro ta te pe kan ro sha ta jing zo chi lo jong ro chi ma she na chi pal lam she yu ji ro se ra ka ngi kha shi ngang zo ka ngi yo bi kan la ti ka ngi de se ra de ne ki ka ngi se yu ju gri de la chu yang si de la sen de chi ne chura ge semba ti su sam thula ta ya da chura ge de la san no ta ne chuden sam thula ta go ye ma kyang이 디 답시 탐나 야고지 산다는 좋아 땅 디고르스라 그렇잖아요 아니 칼로 직선대 최고야다 마가와 최고야 되는 민도 왔을 배드네로 셔다 되게 쉬울라고지 말씀 좀 신기라라.
So then when we talk about this particular verse from Shantidewa, then let's try to explore it with the examples. And now let's look at the death of someone. And now when we lose someone who is close to us, or when someone dies, then many people have a very strong reaction to that. And then some people go through depressive episodes because of the death of a near one. And herein, this particular verse is especially poignant, because the fact that since we are born, it is natural for us to die. This is a fact of life. And since the person has already passed away, then all that crying, all that being depressed, grieving, would not bring him or her back. And so from a Buddhist perspective, when someone passes away, if you are a Buddhist, then we are advised not to kind of fixate or just keep grieving and be depressed about the fact that someone passed away, because all that worrying, all that grieving would not bring him back. And what we are, as a Buddhist practitioner, what we do is kind of, since in this instance there's no remedy, right? Then what should we do? We should do what we can to help the spirit of that particular person, not spirit, the mind of that particular person who passes into, who have passed away. And as a Buddhist, then the kind of practice we adopt is to, if there are any wealth or possession that he or she has left behind, we kind of dedicate that to and donate that to dharmic activities, in offerings and so on and so forth. And this is the way that a Buddhist practitioner would approach the death of someone, and trying to like fulfill his aspirations and wishes, and then pray for his rebirth. So this is the way a Buddhist practitioner kind of looks at the fact that someone passes away. Now, if you're not a practitioner of Buddhism, then if someone passes away that is who are close to you, then do not all that worrying, all that grieving, all that crying would not bring that person back from death. He has passed away. Accept that first. That life, death is a part and parcel of life. And then, as you are able to accept that, then I'm sure that whoever has passed away had aspirations and wishes that he wanted to fulfill in his life. For example, let's say some parent passes away, and then if he or she has surviving children, then as you are close with these people, then I'm sure that the late parent had wishes and fulfillment, wishes and aspirations regarding his children, and try to fulfill these wishes that he or she has regarding the children. So if you are able to do that, then naturally the grief kind of lessens in you, because you are fulfilling the wishes of the late deceased person. So this is the manner in which you need to adopt the passing away or death of someone close to you. And now these are instances wherein like there are no remedies, and we need to kind of accept that there is no solution now here. And then how do we kind of approach if there is some solution to a particular dilemma or problem? Now let's take the example of a student. A student, if he finds a text hard or a subject particularly hard, if he just keeps worrying about the fact that he's not able to immediately comprehend and understand the subject, then he will waste all of his time in this great worry and great disturbance that I'm not able to understand it, I'm not able to comprehend it, I'm not able to come at an understanding of the text at all. And this is a waste of time and energy. Instead, he or she could look towards different ways of approaching the text, consulting other people and trying to take more time to study the text. Then he could look to other solutions first, rather than just wasting his time by worrying on this particular difficulty he faces in understanding the text. So this is the practical examples of how we should adopt the attitude mentioned in this particular verse from Shantideva. That's
Jangan makapatan kongo chimbara, ni nima taba kawara tang lapcha jane. Tabu mo kuni ni ma lapcha do tamba. Ni chowa di din chene zubo khanza mixi and tong. Ta ni pinje di chira kondola so simje do khashir ni singa la do nje ba. De ro chi ni jire. Chowa di nje jing mora do ta do tang de de pese ga. Ta kon so chin de gora. Ta ni ma ji chowa de ne tong de ga ta ni pinje pomu do fonda de ta ko shu ngu do. Rajima kadu shoge bonda kadu fonda na michi tanda ra ande khoran ni simje do ta choga thona lega chogora simje ta do singa do khatun khabatan ta par ngudi tangi chana ine majele ra ta nguni phendo khare ra ko ye me ni o mare chana ta ko chudo chi ani pugu lapra ya ko tang lapra ya ko chichu ra ani su chi kang chu ya ko chi ta ku nguni phendo ke mare lapra ma ko jaila ani ko tanto ngale su jinsen ro shi da kuni lo chu go ni nyam do de thupa do chi jamani pe kar chawa shu ye la jo tati ni ya por ra chawa ye ne to ngone ta do kana de la gawa go ya lo chu go di wan thina thupa chi ma ya ko chi de na ta ngani de bi ni ya ko de isra ta ro bi ne ga la ches ke mara kesin kyo ni ni ma ya ko de mai thupa cha ja je ta thong de ga la ni jo ba chi ra ta tene jo ba che go ya me de bi ni chana ya po de shas kesi Pamasin, the Chowa Chimisi, cheating in the drain, but Yamduta, the Morado, Yamdu Chik, Yamdu Shin, Marches, the Yichabera. 근데 이리가 상만데 춘수 집어 말이지 춘수 참아 봤다다 근데 강이 망보여래라 그래서 안 dilap자로 아니 갈래 저지 도다 봐 다단다 기부 진대셔 보고니도 어침 붙여라 지게 다 콜리지 때 내가 지기도 지게 그 럽다 쇼도 또 말이야 그런 내가 자기도 진디시라 제가 근데 신내 전에는 아마도 형 받잖아 보고니도 따니요 될 두두라 제가 근데 미스니도 지금 못 아니지 강이라 담다 가서 거르신데도 가게 짜자 녀들아서라 미가지 가기냐 들 삼치다 들 럽제제데 배강이로 튀드 다다 거야 보셔시대 자다 풍시라 땅고음들아 땅다인 라스타다리시 제가 딘데도 다 가나 지나서 가도 있는 내가 딘데지 튀디가 삼도 땅에 빼케쳐므라 쇼심바지나 삼단 디가는 삼땅 되는 저 녀마 차이인가라 디 마이게 심바지 가르쳐야 된다 근데 녀마 강에 대해 봐 수 담아 심바지 되냐 디야제도에다 가리네라
So then, let me tell you about a particular personal incident that I had, and I have a sister in Tibet, and she was married, and now then her husband, he used to truck. Her husband was a truck driver. And then one day he passed away in a truck accident, and so one day the husband passed away in an accident, and now at that time it was very expensive to call Tibet, and it was also tough to make a telephone call to Tibet. But whenever as I called her, then my sister, the wife. She was always crying, and she was in a particularly difficult moment in a grieving period. And as he was a truck driver, she was the Samadogra. She worked as a farmer as well as a nomad. In Tibet, we have that kind of livelihood. So even though the husband passed away, she still need to make a living. She had to look after the fields. She had to look after the animals too. And as I called her from time to time, then whenever I called her, she was always crying and grieving. And so after a prolonged period, then I called her again, and then she was still grieving very much, and she's still crying all the time. And then when I told her, like, oh, you should not now like be obsessed and fixate on the grief itself, and you should kind of let it go and accept that he's passed on. Then she kind of replied that we've been married for so long, 19 years, and in all the 19 years that we had together, we didn't ever had a single argument between each other, and I'm so sad that he has passed away. And when she told me that, then I told her that if you had 19 years together, and in that 19 years you had not a single argument between each other, then this is a great source of joy that you should take great joy in that fact. If in the 19 years that you had together you had many fights, then if you had passed on, then you would have a great sense of regret that you are not able to resolve the conflict. And so herein then, as I told her to approach it in this manner, and then whenever she called me afterwards, then I also reminded her that she had the responsibility of the children upon her head too, and that if the mother, she keeps fixating and keeps grieving and crying all the time, then this will have a negative effect on the children too. And so then as I kept calling her and I kept offering her these type of advices, then later on she was come to an understanding that I need to accept this, and now there is nothing that I can do, and I need to pray for the best I can do is to make offerings and pray for him, and the best kind of celebration of this, her husband's legacy will be to look after the children well. And now her children have grown up. One of them have grown up and graduated college, and the other one, he's doing odd jobs and is able to stand on his own 2 feet. And so this is the manner in which we should try to adopt these practices in our real life. And then as a Buddhist practitioner and someone who gives teachings, then sometimes as I listen to so many people's problems and how they are stuck in these problems, sometimes like for us too, we need to adopt this particular verse from Shantideva too, that sometimes it's too much that I cannot help, it's beyond me too. Yes.
Chana de la ledra, Negi Dungi, Chayaki, Gangi Rosigra, the Kalaolandra, so the Dumile, Zamigalanzo, Yungura, Yungure, Chichila Robache, Chesanga Migi, Michane, Tashistan, the Nechuna Karacha with La Gormasia, Chudul Dungi Chani, any part of the Kangitana Mara, Ra, the Nechuna, the Nichu, the Nichu, the Shira, Chesanga, Shojinazo. Gawagoing on me, Michani, so you could tap the Shira Jura, Kangi Kandijin, Tapshin deputy and Digal turn to which you were Tina Lunzudin and Kangira. She's not the Karashi or a chick better than the chick Yamakangi Chumusha, the Susu Kosha, the some Mabu Hashiwalan, Kangi de la Madeas, should the dinner turn a Jula or Ra. Mishi Kangi Pagilachana Tambukangi, Delena Kangi, and part the Kangi Dilla Homataya, Ra, Ting Munitani, Kangi Tanangato Karashi, Karashi, the Shikangi Kodji Sha, that the Kangi de la Tamakardu, dinner on the tap the sharing the Pishitan Rutway, what is some time restaurant.
So then as I recount these examples, then whether we like it or not, these are all examples of sufferings and problems. So then you might feel that why is she like burdening us with more suffering and more stories of suffering all the time? This might be a particular reaction that you might have. But this is not to say, not to like burden you with a sense of suffering. This is to say that as we look at all these examples of sufferings, we know that we could come out of these sufferings by adopting a new perspective, by adopting a new method, by adopting these practices. So this is the reason why I recount these examples which are replete with suffering and problems. And so we need to look at it in this manner, that even though there are a lot of sufferings, most of these sufferings, all of these sufferings, we could get out of these sufferings, and we could kind of mentally be free from these sufferings by adopting the methods that are taught by the text, and by investigating the wisdom that is taught by the text. So with these two, the wisdom and the method, we could come out of suffering and rid ourselves of the suffering. This is the attitude to adopt.
Jadi soal lagi sih terkadang, kisi kangi dulu cuma dulu aja jadi santang merta, I mean dulu tahun kerja orang ani kisi cuci ni cuci cuma dulu sendiri kerja orang, kanda kiu sendiri orang, kangi ye bayi nare, me bayi nare, ye bayi nare dika sama saya matang kalau lucis, kangi dia ni jual tang sus, dika lah aja kalau sini kerja, saya tengah tu mira, jadi kita orang tu kangi kerja ini, tapi sendiri jadi santang, kangi dulu aja santang matang sih, saya. Ni kawan kangen mana ni kadi ni orang ni mid tembuche de vacation berah suzona mid tembuche ni kawan ni cipu dah sama gemut sih dora sama rola kau nada de ni cipu marah leci ani tanda tiga lah yang cipu poro ini lah sini.
So then this particular text, when we look at it, then what is it trying to say in a nutshell? Just be happy. That's the advice. Whenever you come into suffering, don't be so like overcome by that suffering that your whole mind is disturbed by this suffering. If there exists a solution, be happy that there is a solution and work towards that solution. And if there is no solution, then be happy that there is no solution. Now all that worrying, it's useless. So this is what it's trying to say. And if there are any questions regarding this particular verse,
related to something you said at the beginning. You talked about the fact that we need to have pure intention when we help other people, and after reading this verse after that said, it seems like there is an inner conflict, because the antidote suggested at the end, I would view that person as a true spiritual teacher, seems like it refers to someone who helps not from a pure intention, who helps from hoping that he will get his health back someday, like not from pure intention. Do you understand what I'm saying?
By looking at him as a teacher, then he does not have a pure intention. This is
No,
what
I
you mean?
mean that if let's say I have helped someone from a pure intention, then if someone won't help me, let's say I help someone and he won't help me in the future, it won't matter too much for me because I have helped from pure intention. The antidote suggested in this verse seems like it refers to someone who from the beginning didn't help from a pure intention. Because if I have helped wanting someone to help me back in some day, then I would need this antidote to view him as a spiritual teacher. You understand what I'm saying? So it seems like an inner conflict that we say we want to help from pure intention, but this is an antidote referring for someone who is not helping.
We are still referring to the 6th verse, right? Yeah. 거기 델라디스 게와도 지통고 두스라 기싱 수수기 삼반남다 아니 고는 싸마치니 미치로 바치나스라 지레와도다 딘데로 메와치네 이 퍼조디기 제라 수치 두자치네 지 시라네 마로스 또 단다 델라 님보로 지된여라 디 두바딜라 님보데 된조델라 당원의 호랑네여라 아니 걸서 당분의 호랑 아니 퍼조 미딜라 기겐도 따나스라 아니 당분의 호랑 아니 가는 굴릉디 짱만 메조도 지통고도 스코이 If you view them as a teacher, then you feel like it is not out of a pure intention. This is what you mean?
Again, sorry?
Herein, the antidote is said to look at them as a teacher, right?
Yeah.
So if you, with that view, you think it is not coming from a pure intention. This is what you mean?
No, I mean that if I have helped from the beginning with a pure intention, no intention to get back someday, I won't need to view that person in any single way because I don't have any expectations. You understand? So if I help let's say I helped you with a pure intention and you didn't help me back, there won't be any need to look at you as a spiritual
Of course
because
not.
from the beginning I won't.
Yeah, of course not. But when you read the text, when you read the root text, even when someone I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes, so herein the contradiction is already addressed. In instances wherein you have placed great hopes, then look at them. When you are hurt, then look at them as teachers.
In case you have done that. In case you have done that, this is what you should.
거일라나 무에네라 굴은 싸마치네 제나스라 아니 소제네 조바체로 지칸 요마라스
So this
아니
refers to help not from pure intention. Actually.
If you
니
have done that.
디어디다 덴데로 오레트 아니 무에네랑 굴은 싸마에나 기엔라네 따오야고로 요마라와로 디다제 this is true. But here in it, that as the root text it says, like if in any instance you have like placed great hopes, then it could be a source of disappointment for you when that person does not like do the same thing to you. Then at that instance, look at them as teachers. So yeah, answers.
Thank you.
Nicola Pesha, okay. For example, Kesi can't that the Lubasa Sasan Leo Shashra, the Pedoshan, the Ped, for example, the can't let this and the Kekuchimi, Chawado, Tangape, Gangitina, Tangi Kotura, can't they show the Alarum Tobachiesta, the Dechu, Ane Kalate, Koranima has it, then the Shideshura. That's what you wish in there. That's only development in Nala Makuma and the Shena, not as Mulanga. Tamangi Kula Jawaka Jamare, Korakani Teddy, Mijiri, Koranije, Chasare, Chawatangu, Ane Kolasam, Dulu, Tenkachandra, Peshada, Kolomidula Homatara, Tindedo, Shaning, Nala Shah, Kalate, they said the Jalanima Hazard, and the Jewish and the Dela Shara. Tago Dola Mangato, Legado, shoulder, Nala Kumaja, Samaku, you can't Roshana. Tanga Lunga. That digi. Tanda digi chena tandulu mala chene shenye taboros ngal labje shimbo jitero ra migi sanu ta de dende yora san labje shimbo geu hinye na shi pan be ndishi shawa na zobogom dende la wala mato tamonge kola rewa shi je nge phache na ngatsi chi dende ma ra di pere la ra
So then I think the conflict, the kind of like doubt you had, it will be like cleared with this example now, because your conflict is regarding the pure intention. And here, let's say, for example, let's say you and I met, and then you were a traveler, and then you had nowhere to stay, right? And it's raining, pouring. Now you had nowhere to stay, and then if I, out of good intention, pure intention, give you a shelter, that I'll say like, I have a spare room, come, you can stay there, then I feed you, right? And then I also tell you that, okay, you can stay as long as you like, and then you can leave anytime you feel like. So this happens out of pure intention. I give you shelter, I feed you, right? But when the day comes for you to leave, and let's say that at that time I was out of my house, and then you wanted to leave, and then when you left, you stole a lot of things from the house. Now herein, even though the person has a very pure intention, he could be very disappointed, right? So even in that instance, to look at that particular person as a supreme teacher.
Mishima Sanatashina, Atujishela Dura. She was turning to Dura. The Hepesharara.
I have a question about kind of trying to explain this with 2 examples. I'll keep a simple one. Say I was on my way somewhere, I need to get somewhere, people were expecting me, good intentions and all, and I have called a friend to pick me up, and he is very late, he's not coming. I call him, this is 5 minutes, I call him, this is 10 minutes, and I call him, this is 15 minutes, and stuck in traffic. And I think basically he just left late. So that was a bit disrespectful, but I'm trying to practice patience and be calm. So I treat him, he's doesn't have, I've placed great hopes in him, but he's let me down, and I'm using him as a spiritual teacher to practice here both patience, tolerance, and compassion. Both three things. But then at the same time, I'm upset because I'm letting other people down, the ones who are expecting me, and I'm thinking about them and how they may be upset by the fact that I'm late. How do I deal with the fact that there's a byproduct to that, where there's suffering to others that is out of my control? Because say if it can be remedied, why be upset? If it cannot be remedied, why be upset? So here it cannot be remedied. I'm late. I accept it. I practice tolerance and compassion and all. But the thing that cannot be remedied is that these people will be upset as well, and I have no control over it. And I don't want to live my life letting people down and upsetting them, especially if they expect me. So they are placing great hopes on me as well at the right time. I find a bit of like a conflict there of how do I deal with letting people down, basically. When it's not in my control, I can do my best, but it's not always in my control.
Tiwadida churang saja jigla legoresra ni roba jigi churang la ngweni kelen chereso da chu saja dibo dungai kebos en pajo mila pajo saja dosa dele roba mamel ji churang la guderes churang le la guderes tene roba di jegola ni roba di ra ngat kamanga jil ligi la prostambo dijel kama chu jil ligi la dijel kama changa jil ne chu chegas de jilu thesigiros jilu thedi zamata mi di khurang jilu khabata ngoni khelen chinge dilata ta kho khola rewaji chera rewadi chena e ta kho gi rewadi dumatu and it is jobaje rojisera di mor bogotani ra jilu the chura khola dilada ta ko soba gom ninji che kharichena da chik chinge thambado la ta na ta thugros ina ida digi chembe jebuchi kharelana phala mi mambuji gudera konzo digi nidang de la chene ni dungye rojira ta phigila ra ta dungye ra ina ta khashi kanye rojira o tende roji chagi ras ta mezen alne dang de mambo yungiras kabab la khaptu de la ta chu gomtho nai digi chembe kanye dungye la so de mambo yonsigiras dila ni tis thapshi do kharenas this khakpo thongo dus
the di kya tene ro gangi tene re chile phene chile ne de ro ba today in the Dig carrying a pagila called a secretary, Kojil Hago, which is the Chasumsra. And if you pay the fontaine, Kiran the Drosham, Dana Lesamaris, to Dolora. Me in the Tamajora. Tangan the Modet Lesamarishas. Can any moderation much in Drosha shows. Mother the Kalanga guy in a Komuma to Kangijura. Till a Kangi the Legati, and it is not found that are entire. Any Kura didn't go to Tutole Mother, the Chans of Tele, and a Drosha Rogis, Rada, and the Legitam Tyra. Yeah, any Kujukuchi, the work on Rochas, quote and the Kangi in the Tidishal, yeah, the Liching line. But think not to tap the sherry to do a nickel sometime, Yagi Dichil and the Catula to him, Ra. In the Nalatan, any Suzuki Tafiti for the time.
So then herein, when we talk about that particular example, of course, there are many instances in life wherein there is a consequence to our actions and other people's actions. And in this instance, a communication is very important, right? First, since you could call that, since the other person can call you saying like, I'm 5 minutes late, 2 minutes late, then you could call the people who are expecting you and inform that, the one who's supposed to drive me to the location it might be late, so I might naturally be late too. And then explain to them that I might be late beforehand. This is one step you could take, right? Rather than just fixating on the fact that he's coming late, right? So herein, this is an application of wisdom and method. If we think about carefully, right? We're not fixating on something. We're looking to now, we are looking for methods to try to alleviate the situation, right? So there is no like unwanted or like unexpected consequence. So if you are able to inform them beforehand that because my driver is because the one who's supposed to drive me to the location is facing problem with his bike or whatever, or he's running late, then I'm running late too. Then don't wait for me. I might be late for half an hour, and then carry on without me. You could say that, communicate that, right? So this is the manner in which we need to like kind of work with wisdom and method by thinking about looking at the situation from a broader perspective first, and then communicating these solutions. So this is the manner in which we need to adopt the attitude, whether there is a remedy to a situation or there is no remedy to a situation. And now this is a particular example that is very particular to your situation, the example that you gave. And in different situations, we need to think of different methods. We need to assess the situation differently, and then try to think from a broader perspective. Yes.
Akopagila Zarabe, Manganian, but Rogonin, the Shudin Zara Ozra. Napagit de Chinjin Yasanichiwa, Taringan the Daily, Pass the Tendo. The Nego Marina and the Sura, Chetan Susudine, Susukotoko, there, Vashago.
So there is no one particular remedy that serves all situations, all dilemma, all problems, right? So, for example, personally, I help people go to hospitals, or people who are in need to go to kind of help them consult with doctors. And then I also have commitments to teach classes too. Sometimes these two clash, right? And then in such situations, I have to kind of use and assess the situation using wisdom, that which is more urgent, and then I have to take a decision from that assessment of the situation. So likewise, there is no one particular remedy or technique which applies to all situations. Yes.